All right. So here is where we left off. We left off completing everything on the transactions from the very beginning all the way to June 5th. Now we're going to be starting on a new date on June 6th. So we are reaching close to the end of our journal. So we'll make sure that we keep an eye on this because I'll show you what you need to do once you reach the end of the journal. Okay? Let's go ahead and dive right into this scenario. So on June 6th, we applied for a business credit card. Do we need to record this transaction or no?
No,
Okay. Why?
it was just an application. There was no financial real impact.
Okay. Good. We don't know how much we got approved for. We don't know what the interest is. And we definitely don't know anything other than us just applying for a credit card. Because, again, we can get denied right then and there unless we submitted this application through, you know, through the mail. But most cases, you're probably going to do it through online, so you know if you got approved or not. But usually, they won't be able to determine how much credit you will be receiving until after the application is complete and that your credit score has been run through. So in this case, we just only applied for a credit card. No, there's no interest, no how many months we have it to owe, or anything like that. All right. So let's go ahead and see what happened next. All right. Next, it says here that the main bank approves a line of credit for $9,000, right? And it's to be applied for overdraft protection fees and personal loans, okay? And if personal loans are to be taken out, it'd be in increments of $1,000. All right. Um, Terms and interest rates are going to be 22% applied to any unpaid balances amount to that is going to be compounded weekly. So, this information, we applied for a line of credit. Now that we got approved of the line of credit, should we journalize this?
I think so, yes.
Why?
Because there is a transaction that approves.
Okay, so let's clarify this transaction. What are the conditions that you have to meet in order for this line of credit to apply? What conditions do you have to meet in order for this line of credit to apply? What transaction actually really happened?
I would think you'd have to actually take a loan, take the money out.
Right.
For it
Um,
to actually be.
what is this line of credit used for?
Oh, would this be a personal line of credit, not a bank line, not like for the business?
It is a business line of credit.
Well, okay. Well, I don't know. It says personal loan, so I wasn't sure if that would be.
Because
We would need to divide between personal and business.
so in this case, this personal loan is considered like how we're sole proprietors. If you need to take a
Okay.
personal loan, then it can be applied using the business credit. So that way you could keep your personal and your business separate.
Okay.
Okay. So my question here is, we got a line of credit, all right? Did we actually make a transaction for the $9,000?
No,
Did we take a personal loan out?
no, not yet.
And then the one thing I'm trying to get here is that it is for overdraft protection fee. Is our bank overdrafted right now?
No.
So has my $9,000 been used yet?
No.
No. So this is a perfect example of something that you need to place into your notes to the financial statement, saying that you do have some sort of line of credit and that you should place somewhere where that 22% is. Because just in case, somewhere along the line, you do end up either or overdrafting your payment or overdrafting your bank. Or if you do end up taking a personal loan, then you're going to be charged 22% every for the amount that's overdue, or in this case, the amount that's the balance, right? So here, has a transaction actually happened?
No.
No, right? We didn't meet those criterias. We didn't overdraft our bank just yet, and we didn't take any personal loans. So in this case, this is pertinent information because it does in tie with your banking service or your bank account. But just make sure that this is something that you need to consider. But there is no transaction at hand. We didn't overdraft it anything, or we didn't take a business loan or anything like that, or a personal loan. Sorry. So in this case, this transaction is almost not significant enough to even journalize, because the main concept is there is a criteria in order for you for an actual transaction to occur. In this case, it's just telling us in case you do overdraft your bank account, you have up to $9,000 overdraft protection fee, okay, or overdraft protection. So in this case, this is very good for businesses because again, we talk about NSFs, right? We talk about especially businesses that are very, very tiny, and you're trying to buy all those expenses, right? You have rent to cover, you have all of these other business expenses that have to occur, and you may have to write an NSF check. So this basically says that if you do write an NSF check, you have up to $9,000 to overdraft and protect your bank account. All right. But in this case, nothing has happened yet. It's just to make sure that you keep this this pertinent information should be on your statement to the financial statements. Okay. Notes to the financial statements. Okay. All right. So what happened next? Okay, so we decided to create a new ledger account called loss on disposal of assets, right? And our duty here is we are going to move the $2,000 from the miscellaneous suspense and into this loss on disposal of asset. Okay, so in this case, we're doing an account transfer. Okay. So in this case, we are going to be debiting, right? We're moving everything that we have in the miscellaneous suspense, and we're going to place it into the loss on disposal. So let's go ahead and take a look at our miscellaneous suspense, and let's determine how are you going to remove it. So miscellaneous suspense, here it is, we have a lost. Right now it has a debit balance. So how are we going to remove this $2,000 and place it into another account?
We need to credit it.
We're going
Debit the new account.
perfect. That's exactly what you're going to do. So let's go ahead and we have the information that the loss on sale of an asset. Let's look at our chart of accounts. Let's determine which account type it belongs to. So loss on sale of an asset. So the hint here is it's in its 60,000s. 60. It is going to be an expense. Good. So notice this. My account numbers are correlated according to account type, right? My 10,000s are my assets. My 20,000s are my liabilities. My equity is 30,000. 40,000 for my revenues, 50,000 for my cost of goods sold, and 60,000 for my operating expense. So from just knowing that idea and that concept, we can determine that 6,700, right, is the account number, is going to fall under a it's going to fall under an expense. So here it is, expense, and it says loss on disposal of asset. Okay? So if we're going to debit that and it's an expense, that means logically that's correct, right? We normally debit our expenses. So in this case, let's go ahead and place it in here. So June 6th, right? We have loss on disposal of asset. All right? And it's account 6,700. All right? And we recognize that in order to move the money from miscellaneous expense into the loss of disposal of asset account, we have to credit the amount. So in this case, that's correct. All right, we're gonna essentially move the entire amount because it says in the scenario too that you're moving the entire $2,000 out, which in this case, what account number is miscellaneous expense?
Uh, 19990.
1990. Good. All right. And what amount am I moving in here? So, transaction journal says you need to move $2,000. So 2,000 into the loss, and you're taking it directly from miscellaneous expense. Okay. Here, this is called an internal transaction. It doesn't affect anything other except for the internal portion of the business. All right. So it doesn't involve with anybody, but this is involving the company itself internally. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to put a note here that I moved loss or moved $2,000 into new account. Or you could say moved, yeah, that's good enough. Moved $2,000 into a new account. All right. Now that journal is complete, what can you do? What's the next thing that should happen? All right. We need to go to our ledger, right?
Yeah, we want to update it on our ledger.
We want to update our ledger. Here, when I go to my ledger, the first thing that pops up is miscellaneous expense. But for this, let's just go ahead and do this so that we don't skip out on it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to recognize our expense right here. So we're going to debit our expense account. Okay, so here's expense. And we're going to locate loss on disposal of assets. So it should be in alphabetical order. So it should be right here, right under labor expense. I'm sorry, right under license and permit expense. So here we go ahead and put the date, 6/6. And then we're going to say moved from miscellaneous suspense. And then you could go ahead and add details that this was loss on sale of furniture. Okay. Post reference number, we are still on general journal number 1. All right. Did we debit the account or credit the account?
Debit.
We debited the account. So therefore, since it's our first entry in here, that means the account balance has a debit balance of $2,000. Okay? Now we have to go to our miscellaneous expense and take out. So here, again, date is June 6th, and we moved to account number 6700. Okay? General journal, same, hit the wrong cell. So here we go, general journals 1, right? And it's a credit for $2,000. So in this case, the formula here, once again, is going to be up 1 plus left 2 minus left 1. Or in this case, previous balance plus any debits minus any credits. And it should give you 0. Okay, and of course we will be using the miscellaneous expense account, so go ahead and drag down that formula if you have it. Don't drag it down to the gray. The gray is going to be your total balance, so go ahead and just pull that formula down to the very bottom of the table, not the gray part. All right, so here we are. We have 0 in the miscellaneous expense, okay? And once again, it's an internal transaction. We didn't deal with our customers, our vendors, or our employees. This affected the company internally. So, do we need to use our subsidiary ledger for this one? Anybody? Do we need to use our subsidiary ledger for this transaction?
No, I don't think so, since it's not dealing with any outside parties.
Correct. Again, subsidiary ledger is all the people that are involved in your company. In this case, this doesn't involve anybody. Okay. So now that transaction is done, let's go ahead and determine the next one. What happened next?
We bought furniture.
Did we buy furniture?
Order furniture.
We just ordered it.
Oh,
Okay, so let's look at this information. What did we order?
One desk set, queen set, type 62.
Yes, we bought we ordered a desk set. Okay, now is this something that we can journalize?
No.
No. Why?
No transactions.
No transaction. Okay, but why? It does affect the company. This is just an order, right? We didn't receive the item. We didn't pay for the item. All we did was get a quote. Okay? They're just telling me here that I'm quoted for this $562, but I don't know what shipping that they're gonna charge me, if there's sales tax, right? So in this case, I'm just ordering something, and I haven't even received the bill yet. That's the most important thing, right? A transaction has not occurred. This is going to be also considered a non-posting transaction, because even though we have an order that's being placed, it affects the next line of transaction where you're supposed to be receiving the inventory or the item, or you're supposed to be receiving the bill as well. So in this case, we do not need to journalize it. However, we have a purchase order. Shouldn't you keep track of your purchase orders?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so where do we keep track of that? On the same general journal. Okay, after the check register, you should see that you have deposits and then you have the purchase orders. Okay, so here you go. The date was June 6th. Okay, and here the 170301 is our purchase order number. Who's the vendor that we're purchasing it from?
Furniture store says.
Yep, furniture store. Okay, and what item did we buy?
That's
One
it.
that check.
Yes, we bought a desk. So that means the next time that we receive our inventory item, right, we're going to match the purchase order to the actual invoice itself. So again, we have to wait for it. All right. Okay, so go ahead and go down to deposits because there's one thing I forgot to do when we sold our furniture, right? What did we do with the money when we sold the furniture? What did we do with the money when we sold the furniture?
Deposit checking.
We placed it in our checking account. So here my receipt is going to be for $2,000, right? Because that's how much I received from that sale. And the date was, again, June 5th because the sale happened on June 5th. So therefore, I deposited the $2,000 into my bank account. That's why I have 20, I had 20, I got 2,000 more, so 23. So in this case, let me go ahead and format this. So again, at the end of each transaction, primarily towards when we actually do our sales, is when we're going to actually at the end of every day, we're going to deposit our money. So in this case, we're still on the 6th. Okay. Any cash transactions so far? No, not yet, right? We only had that one cash transaction on the 5th of June. So, okay, so let's go back to our general journal. Okay? All right. So then, continuing on June 6th, we did another purchase order to the same exact store. I guess we were looking through the catalog, we ordered it, and we completely forgot to attach this to the purchase order. So we decided to just do another one. So here we decided to make another purchase order, and we bought a counter, right, for $1,033. And we also bought 5 display shelves, okay? That cost $102 each. So here it's going to be for the amount of $1,543. Hold on. Let me look at my purchase orders one more time. There's an amount invoice amount. Yeah, I forgot the invoice amount. So in this case, the purchase order from previous is $562. Okay, so here purchase order number 2, right? We get a total cost of $1,543, right? We got the counter for $1,000, and we have 5 display shelves costing $102 each. So 5 times 100 is going to give you 500. So therefore, the total cost of this purchase order is going to be the 1543. So let's go ahead and fill in our purchase order. So again, June 6th. Okay, who did we send this purchase order to?
Furniture store.
Furniture store. Okay, what did we buy? We
One counter and 5 shelves.
Okay, I'm just gonna put counter and shelves, right? Pretty generic, so I know what to look for. Okay, and for the total amount,
1,033. No. That would
the
be
total amount,
1135.
1135.
And I'm showing 1543.
Sorry, it's 1543.
Yeah. Okay, because we got 5 display shelves. So in this case, my total amount that I should be expecting, right, should be the $1,543. Okay, so we just place that so that we can kind of match our invoices in case we end up buying multiple items with multiple with the same exact or same exact item. However, we have different price points, right? So that's one way to go ahead and match your purchase orders to your actual receiving of the assets. Okay. So then, now that we've placed in our purchase order, again, this isn't a transaction. What comes next?
The electricity is connected and there was $100 deposit.
Yes, we have a deposit that we have to make. Okay, because we turned on the electricity. Okay. How much was the deposit for?
$100.
$100. And how are we paying this?
Check.
With a check. So let's go ahead and go to our journal once again so we can place the information down. So here's my journal. Okay, so right here I have just exactly enough to place this journal entry in. Okay, if you do not have enough, then you have to go ahead and move on to the next page. But in this case, I have just enough. There's no need to add anything because when you print these out, you can't you can't add something on here, even though it's on Excel. In this case, if it's not enough, you're just gonna have to move on to the next line or move on to the next journal, right? So in this case, I have just exactly enough. So in this case, we are going to be journalizing the date. And for in this case, if I wrote a deposit, right? Where is it going to go?
Debit.
Mm-hmm.
Assets.
Yes, we're going to go ahead and debit deposits, right? Pretty straightforward. All right, we made an electricity deposit. All right, and we wrote a check. So it's coming right out of our checking. Now let's go ahead and go to our chart of accounts and determine what deposits are, or what account number deposits is. Okay.
18,700.
18,700. Good.
Yes.
Good. 18,700. And then we have checking account 10,100. Okay. So again, the amount of this check should be a total of $100. All right. And then let's go ahead and determine what check number we're going to be actually using. So let's write that check. Okay. So on June 6th, we're using check number 1504. And it's going to be for the amount of $100. And who are we writing this check out to?
NV Utilities.
NV Utilities. NV Utilities. All right, good. So now that I have my check number 1504, let's go ahead and journalize this. So, or finish my journal, right? So the description is going to be your vendor, NV Utilities. Okay, you can even write what did you pay for. So this is electricity deposit. And then comma check number 1504. All right, and that concludes our journal. Right? So we reached the end of journal number 1. So that means the next transaction we do is going to start on journal number 2. So in this case, let's go ahead and go to our general ledger to update this account information. Okay? So first I have is deposits. Okay? So deposits, right, is going to be under assets. So because if I look back, it's going to be under miscellaneous expense, right? So in this case, I could scroll up and I'd be able to find my deposits right here. Deposits. Okay. So again, June 6th, and it's going to be electricity deposit. Alright. General journal number 1. And it's on the debit side for $100. So again, formula, we have to enter it in here. So we have to go up 1, plus 2 to the left, minus 1 to the left. So again, previous balance plus any debits minus any credits to give you an account balance of $1,600. Okay, and then you could pull that all the way down to the bottom, but not to the gray. Okay, the gray is what we're gonna do at the end of the month. Okay, so good. We have this amount right here. It's $1,600. So now we wrote a check. So we got to go all the way up to checking. All right. And we have to fill this part in. Okay. So once again, June 6th, I wrote a check number 1504. All right. It's still general journal number 1. And this time I wrote a check. I spent money. So I'm decreasing my account by $100. So now I should have $11,461.29 in my checking account. All right. Everyone with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, last thing here is, did I deal with a vendor? Did I deal with somebody?
In the utilities.
Yes, we dealt with NV Utilities. So therefore, we need to update our subsidiary ledger. Once again, subsidiary ledger, it's a vendor. Okay? And we are dealing with NV Utilities. So NV Utilities is, here is NV Utilities, right? Date, June 6th. Notes, electricity deposit. Okay. Check number 1504. Okay. Obviously there's no invoice because it's a deposit. Nothing's due yet because they didn't send me a bill yet on how much utilities or how much electricity I used. So it's just a deposit. So in this case, we can skip the invoice number. Okay. General journal number 1. And in this case, no due date. It's not a prepaid account. All right. It's just a security deposit in this case. So the invoice amount is going to be $100 and I made a payment. So in this case, I could skip right along all this because this isn't a sale of an item or this isn't a product. They're not going to discount me on a deposit. So in this case, I'm just going to notify that I had an amount balance and I paid the amount, right? This deposit does not go towards your bill. It's it's a fee that they have to collect from you, just so then they can make sure that you are using the facility. So in this case, it's a deposit that you may or may not get back, all right? But it doesn't go against or for any bill. It's just a deposit. So in this case, this is going to be, again, your invoice amount, subtract any prepaid, subtract any returns, subtract your discounts, subtract your payments to get you to a grand total of 0. Okay? And of course, I forgot to tell you guys, but you can pull your formulas down for everyone that we do this one. You can pull them down to the bottom. Okay? So to keep that formula in there, so you don't have to keep entering it in over and over and over again. Just understand that here, it's an invoice amount. It's a prepaid minus the prepaid, minus the returns, minus the discount, minus the payment. Okay? So, all right. Okay. Now that we completed my subsidiary ledger, we can go ahead and move on to the next one. Okay? So here it says that the telephone services are now connected. Okay? But however, installation fees and is going to be included with the first month's bill. So what does this tell me here?
There's nothing we need to put down for this.
Correct. Because the assumption is that the installation fee to plug in the telephone line, it's not going to be you don't have to pay for it now. You're going to have to pay for it later when the first billing cycle gets sent to you. Okay? All right, so here we're expecting a bill, just like you expect for utilities bills, right? So in this case, we're pending on a transaction, right? It's going to send us an installation fee, but also give us how much of the telephone we actually used. Okay. All right. So here we are. We are at now the natural gas is now connected, and another deposit is going to be needed. So again, it is to the same person, NV Utilities, but this time this is for the gas. So, for cooking, for heaters, anything that you need to use the gas for. All right? So in this case, I also have to write in another deposit for the natural gas. So what should I do here?
Debit deposit and credit checking.
Good. Okay, so I am going to debit deposits. Okay. Now what you can actually do here too is, since we are on Excel, you can simply just copy and paste it. That's acceptable because, again, you're already using technology to enter this information for you. That doesn't mean you can't take shortcuts. All right, and I just typed it in the wrong one. So if I really wanted to, I can go ahead and copy this information, right? Because my transaction is identical. The only difference is it's not an electricity deposit, it's a natural gas deposit. All right, so I can go ahead and highlight what I want, right? I can copy this and I can paste it right in here, just like that. And because if I just double click on, because the Excel, right, it's not like Word. Every cell, right, every time you click on it, it will enter something new. So you're going to double click here or go up to the formula bar and you're going to make changes here. So in this case, where I'm going to just make a change right here and say it is not an electricity deposit, but it is a natural gas deposit. Okay. So again, NV Utilities is our person, and of course we wrote another check. So I have to change this number to 1505. Okay, so here I took a shortcut because that's what you can do. Especially this will save you ultimately a lot of time. I don't expect you, if you're doing manual payroll, it already manual bookkeeping, excuse me. So manual bookkeeping, I don't expect you to take as much time on it. You know, you have technology for a reason. So in this case, if you can take as many shortcuts as you can, do it. Just make sure that you edit the information right then and there, okay, to make it reflect the transaction that you want it to be. So in this case, I'm telling you right now, manual bookkeeping is a very, very long process. As you can tell, right? We have to go to the general journal, then the general ledger, then the subsidiary ledger, and next thing you know, we're going to have to go to the inventory worksheet. So with that being said, take any shortcuts that you can, especially because you're using an application that allows you to edit the information right then and there. Again, all right, so here I just copied and pasted the transaction right below, and I just edit the information because we have the same vendor, except the only difference is it's natural gas. And then, of course, the check number is going to be different as well. Okay? But the check amount is the same. It's $100 deposit. So now let's go to our check register. So we can go ahead and fill that information in. The date is the same. It's still on the 6th. All right. It's another $100. And again, it is to NV Utilities. So for this one too, if you type it in and you have an autofill, use it. Okay. If you know how to use the drop down menu, when you click on the open Excel and you can do the drop down menu, go ahead and do it. You can even copy the cell right above it. So in case like this, right, I can go ahead and equal and cell reference this exact one. Okay, whatever shortcuts that you've learned in Excel, you can apply them here in accounting. All right, every single thing. And in this case, I use cell referencing a lot. That's definitely something that if you're not very don't really understand it, or you're not quite sure of it, then don't use it. Then type it in, or simply click on the cell and Control C and then Control V, or right click copy and then right click paste. Okay, but I'm just telling you guys now, for this example of this transaction, you can copy all the information. You can just change them as you go. So in this case, I wrote down my check, and it is to NV Utilities, except it's check number 1505, which in my journal I've updated already. So now that my transaction right here is complete, let's go ahead and go to the general ledger. So again, down to the deposits first, so we don't skip around. All right. This one, it's okay. It doesn't really make a huge difference whether you copy or paste anything. So 6. Okay. So again, this is natural gas deposit. Okay. And then general journal, what number?
2.
We are on 2 now, so make sure that you are aware, because if you keep putting general journal 1, right, and one day you're like, wait, hold on, why do I have 2 transactions that look the same? And then you go in here and you see that they're all in the same journal, then it's like, oh, okay, then I must have duplicated this. No. So make sure that you know that you are working on general journal 2. Okay, so it could be bad habit too that we forget and just type in the wrong one. So again, 100 deposit, boom, it's updated to now 1700. Okay. So again, everything that we're doing in Excel is to also help you speed up the process. The initial is very slow because you have to set up everything, but once you get moving and get going, that's when everything starts to become a lot quicker. Just like copy and pasting, right? Cell referencing. All right. So now that I finished my deposit, I'm going to come back up here, and I am going to add in my transaction for the checking account. Okay, so again, in this case, I wrote check number 1505, right? General journal. See, now it says it wants to autofill to 1. I'm going to say, no, I want general journal number 2. Okay, and I think, hold on, I didn't capitalize that. So JGJ 2. All right, same thing. I credited my account for $100, so now it should be recalculated down to 11,361.29. Right. Now that we finished our general ledger, we can go ahead and edit our subsidiary ledger because we're dealing with the same vendor. So in this case, same thing as the same transaction as above. However, the only difference is the notes is different, right? This time it's natural gas deposit. And the check number is 1505. All right. General journal number 2. Same thing. A deposit doesn't go for you, but it doesn't go against you either. So it should be 100, and it should equal out to 0. Okay. There you go. All right. Any questions so far? Okay. All right. So again, just a little FYI. This is your first time bookkeeping, or I guess together, right? I'm going to allow you to make as many mistakes as possible, okay? Because again, this is for class purposes. You're not going to be a professional bookkeeper at the end of this course, unless you sign up to get the certification for the professional American. What is it? The American Association of Professional Bookkeeping. Yes, there is a certification exam for that. Right? And it's only 4 weeks long. So if you really want to pursue it and become a professional bookkeeper, you can do it. All right? But yes, but I would highly recommend you take other additional accounting classes because I'm only teaching you to the very bare minimum. But like I said, at the end of this class, I don't expect you to become a professional bookkeeper. All right, so make all the mistakes that you can in this class. All right. Okay. All right. Let's.
Is it a different program offered through PETA, or?
We do have it. However, it's an independent study. We don't have an actual instructor for it. It used to be part of the program, but it's not as commonly certifiable as, or it's not a common test that a lot of people take. All
Yeah,
right.
I imagine with a lot more automation, a lot of bookkeepers are kind of falling out of practice.
Exactly, especially with with the knowledge of QuickBooks. So we will move into QuickBooks, and the great thing about QuickBooks is you don't need accounting background. You just need to know what you're told to do. So yes, and it's not just only QuickBooks; it's also every single other accounting software out there that is possibly yes. Okay, but again, accounting is the basic fundamentals of all business. So if you're planning to go into economics or something like that, you need to know the fundamentals of this as well. Okay. So anyway, tangent aside, let's go ahead and continue back. All right. So I decided to submit another purchase order. But however, what is so different about this purchase order?
Looks like we made a down payment.
We made a down payment, okay? Because think about it. You're trying to buy equipment that is $2,000 and $1,000. You know, as much as the vendor would want to trust you, it's almost impossible. In most cases, they have policies too where they require a down payment. So in this case, that's exactly what we have here. We're buying a commercial coffee brewer and we're buying a commercial coffee grinder. All right. Total cost is going to be $3,515. And again, it says that we are making a third of a down payment. So here, we already got the amount here. So we're gonna write a check for $1140.22. Okay, so again, this is a down payment. This is going to go towards our actual bill. Okay, so in this case, we are recognizing that we are going to make a prepaid account because again, we're paying a portion in advance, right? Once we get the actual item or the actual equipment, that's where we can take that prepaid amount and apply it towards the invoice itself. All right? So understanding that real quick, hold on to that thought because once we actually receive the inventory item, the asset, which in this case is an equipment, once we receive the equipment, I'm going to show you how to utilize the subsidiary ledger with including the prepaid accounts. Okay. So in this case, let's go ahead and journalize it. So we have a prepaid down payment. So let's go ahead and write general journal. The date is the 6th. Okay. We are making a down payment. So we're creating a prepaid amount. We're paying something in advance. Okay. And of course, we wrote a check. So in this case, it's going to come right directly out of our checking account. Okay. What account number is my prepaid accounts? 18600. So notice this that we're starting to, pick up a lot of things quicker, or notice, hey, wait, we used this account already. Same thing with checking. Checking by now, well, maybe not by now, but you can look right above, or by now you can kind of sense, okay, checking is always going to be 10100. All right. And that's exactly why account numbers are invented, because as you go through the chart of accounts, you're going to recognize something that is there. And when you recognize it, you're going to be like, okay, checking is 10100. Simple. All right, so again, the amount is for 1140.22. 1140.22. Okay. And then here, let's go ahead and write my check real quick, and then we can go ahead and fill in the rest of this description. So here, we're going to be using check number 1506. So June 6th, once again, we are writing a check for 1140.22, and to whom are we paying?
Alley Brothers?
Hallie Brothers. Hallie Brothers, Haley Brothers, whatever you want to call them. Hallie Bros. Okay. Okay, now that I have that, I'm going to go back to my journal because now I have confirmed that I'm using check number 1506. I can go ahead and fill in the information under my description. So here, I'm going to write Haley Bros, right? Or Hallie Bros. Okay. This is going to be towards purchase order number 1703. No, 170303. All right. So that's the purchase order number. Okay. And I'm going to write 1/3 down payment. Down payment. Down payment. And check number 1506. Okay. All right. Now my journal is done. I've created my check. And now I should definitely create my purchase order. So now, because we want to keep track of our items that we make a purchase order for, right? Because what if we send out a purchase order, we never keep track of it, and it never comes, and we made a payment to this company? Then it's our fault that we spent this $1,000 and we never even bothered to keep track of it, whether it came in or not. So that is the purpose of having these purchase orders being tracked. So 6/6, okay? We were writing this to Haley Bros. Hallie Bros. Okay. And what did we buy? We brought a brewer/grinder. Okay. For the total amount of $3,515.95. Okay. And again, we verified it was 17,303. Okay. And that's it for this section here. All right. So now let's go back to our general journal because now we're going to post it to the ledger. Okay. So here is a prepaid account. Okay, so we know for a fact it's an asset, right? It's something that we're paying for in advance. So in this case, I'm going to find it all at the bottom because it's 18,600. Excuse me. Okay. So question to you, why aren't we directly placing this into our assets? Any guesses? Why aren't we? Say that again, Irina?
Because it's prepaid account.
Okay, but why is it that?
We don't actually have it yet.
Exactly, we don't actually have it yet. Good. All right. So we can make this deposit, but at the end of the day, right? What if we don't get the item that we get? What if we don't get the items that we get? Then what do we do with that money? Right? We can't technically place it into the asset just yet because we don't have it yet. So, good. So this is just a prepaid account, down payment, or you can treat this as a deposit as well, right? saying that this is my secure amount that I'm going to give to you to validate that I am serious about buying these items and I want you to send it to me. That's pretty much what this is. Okay, so again, here we are, prepaid accounts. Again, you can write purchase order. So instead of writing the actual item on here, you can just simply type the purchase order. And of course, by having the purchase order, you know exactly where to locate it, right? So purchase order 170303. Okay, you said 1/3 down payment, so DW and PMT, a PMT. All right, general journal number 2, and we made this for the 11/40/22. So that should automatically calculate to $7,794.39. Okay. So again, this amount, once we receive our items, right, we're gonna take it out from prepaid accounts and we're gonna apply it to the invoice that we actually get. All right. So stay tuned for that. All right. So now I'm gonna scroll all the way up to my checking account because I wrote a check. So for this case, there's my date. Okay. Again, I wrote check number 1506. We place this in general journal number 2. And we wrote a check. So we decreased our assets by 11/40/22, which should then drop my bank account down to $10,221.07. So we've already spent 2/3 of our money. Okay, we started with 30,000, now we're down to 10,000. Okay. All right. So now that I finish my general ledger, next is going to now become our subsidiary ledger, because now we're dealing with a vendor. We have a purchase order. We have information for this particular vendor. All right, we're buying something from the vendor. Okay, so I go to my vendors list, and I'm just gonna scroll up because Haley Bros shouldn't be too far off. Okay, here it is, Haley Bros. Okay, so the date here is once again the 6th, and how you're going to enter in the notes. It could be anything that you want. All right. So I'm going to put in 1/3 down payment. Okay, so down to the PMT on coffee brewer / grinder. Check number 1506. Okay, now let's pay attention real close to this one, because I'm going to show you how I fill out this particular form. Okay, it may not make sense right now, but it will make sense once we receive the asset. Okay, so invoice number, you can use the purchase order number. Okay, because that is a sign of some kind of paper trail, right? You have the purchase order number, because eventually the purchase order number will eventually become the invoice number. All right, so we have purchase order number 170303. Okay. Okay, that was weird. Come on. There you go. All right, post reference number. Once again, we did this transaction on general journal number 2. And then, of course, we don't have a due date because we didn't actually get a bill yet. So we can skip that part. Now, where are we going to place this information is very, very important, because we have here a prepaid amount. Okay? In this case, I'm not going to place it there, because this is technically a deposit or a down payment. We're not making an advance payment for an advance payment. Okay? We're going to use this window when we receive our items, okay? Okay, so it's important that right now we're going to skip it, even though where we placed our information was on a prepaid account. But in this case, right now, we're not going to use it just yet. We only use the prepaid amounts when we apply it towards an invoice. So in this case, we don't have an invoice yet, so we're not using the prepaid amounts. However, it says invoice amount. So again, we are just making a deposit or a down payment, right? So you're going to place it in for the 11/22. Okay? And of course, did we make a payment to it? Yes, we did. So in technical terms, do we owe Haley Bros anything? As of right now, we owe them nothing, right? We made them their down payment. Now, all we're expecting from them is to, in return, is to send over a bill, send over the equipment, and then we can go ahead and enter all that information in, and then we can determine how much we owe them. Okay? So again, the formula for determining the accounts payable is going to be the invoice amount. Okay? Minus any prepaid, minus any returns, minus any discounts, minus the payment. And in this case, I get 0. Okay? I don't owe anything. All right? And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to apply that formula all the way down. So the next time that we enter in any other information, it will automatically calculate it for us. Okay? But in this case, okay? And notice this, at the bottom in the gray, there should be formulas in there automatically. As you can see, it says it says that we have $0. So this should be automatically calculated for you. This is just an equal sum of this entire column, okay? That's all that this formula is. But again, this doesn't really pertain until at the very, very end of the scenario, the end of the month. Okay. Any questions so far?
So we're not going to record the additional amounts that are owed until we get the bill for it?
Absolutely, that's correct. Yeah, so once we get the bill, right, that's where we can apply the prepaid amounts, and then it's going to give us an actual amount of that we actually owe. Okay, and it will make more sense when we actually get to see that transaction. Okay, and but this is how I do this particular, because I'll tell you, I'll explain more once we receive that bill, but there are different ways that you can go about this. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to this. So any other extra questions? Okay. Okay, so let's see what happened next. Okay, so we still got one more for June 6th. Okay. What happened here?
Made a purchase from restaurant supplies.
Yes, we did. And what did we buy?
Cash register.
We bought a cash register. So, we bought a cash register. There's nothing more to it. So, and then here we have the tax. So here we only have one item here. We don't need to split the tax because it's already calculated for us. So we made a purchase of a fixed asset, right? We purchased equipment, right? So how did we pay for it?
On account.
we paid it on account. So what does that mean?
That's payable.
We have an accounts payable, correct. So here, let's go ahead and check our chart of accounts to see if we have a fixed asset called cash register. Okay, and in this case, yes, we do. Okay, so cash register. What number is that? Say that again. That's cash in register. That's not it. That's a current asset, right? Because we're gonna have a petty cash fund and we're gonna put money in the cash register.
So
So
it's 14050.
14050. Okay. So here the actual asset is cash register. Okay. For 14050.
Yes.
Okay, and of course we paid it on an account. So here, accounts payable. Okay, but let's go ahead and check out what was the terms that we agreed on. We placed it on account and you financed it for 12 months with 0 interest APR. So that means you have 12 months without interest charging you. However, you financed it for 12 months. So you took this amount and you're going to pay it over 12 months, right? So that means your bill won't occur until a year later. Okay? Or actually it will occur the next month, you just won't get charged interest. Excuse me. So now that we did that, right, we financed it for 12 months. It's definitely something that you're going to need to place in your notes to the financial statements because your asset, you owe them on an account and you financed it, all right? So here you go. What is my accounts payable account? 20,000. All right? And how much in total am I charging? Or how much was my cash register? How much was my cash register?
$599.99.
With tax?
Tax $649.49.
649. Remember, any fixed assets is going to be anything that we make a purchase of, right? To get it ready in service. But in this case, we actually went to the store and bought it. Okay? So 649.49. Correct. All right? And of course, I'm going to go ahead and fill in my description here because I don't have a check I have to write. But I do have the information readily available, right? I bought this from Restaurant Supplies. Okay? You could place your account number in here, but again, that's also sensible data. You don't want to have that laying on your journal. You want to save that for either the general ledger or you want to save that into your notes to the financial statements. Okay? So here, I just only need to simply place in the vendor's name. Okay. So now I've completed this. Let's go ahead and dive into our ledger. Okay. So first thing I have here is going to be my cash register. So that's going to be considered an office equipment. So I might have the wrong ledger on here, but that's okay. You guys should have the correct one. Okay. So my copier is actually going to be the cash register. Right? Oh. Okay. All right, so here I bought the cash register on the 6th. The item is straightforward, right? Maybe you could put some information here in regards to what you did, but in this case, I'm not going to put anything in there. I'm going to say I purchased the asset, right? So I don't need to fill in any information. It's pretty self-explanatory. General journal number 2, and I debited the account for $649.49. Therefore, because it's my first entry here, it should reflect as a debit balance of $649.49. Okay. Now, this is finally what is, okay, so excuse me. What is an accounts payable? What account type is an accounts payable?
Liability.
It's good. It's a liability. So I'm going to go ahead and click on liability. So this is our first time entering in a credit information, or in this case, a liability, right? So I'm going to teach you the other way on how to calculate your liabilities. So let's go ahead and fill in for the accounts payable. This is the first one. Okay. So it's going to be on the 6th, right? And then you could go ahead and say that we bought a cash register on account, and you can even put the vendor name if you'd like. So in this case, we bought this from, we have an account with Restaurant Supplies. Okay. Post reference, again, general journal number 2, and this time we're going to place it on the credit side for $649.49. All right, and that's going to give me a credit balance. All right, so now once we determine this, usually liabilities have a credit balance, right? Because you're going to always owe. But when you pay off that balance that you owe, then it decreases the amount that you owe. Okay, so I'm going to teach you how to do the formula here, since you know, we as we enter more items into the accounts payable, it will automatically calculate for me. So in this case, because we're looking at a standpoint of credits, right? The formula is going to be slightly different. All right. So in this case, we're going to take the previous amount. All right. We're going to add any credits. And we're going to subtract any debits, right? Debits decrease the accounts. So in this case, it's going to be up 1 plus left 2 minus left 3. Okay? So again, let's reiterate that. You're going to take the previous amount, you're going to add any credits, and you're going to subtract any debits. So in this case, right, the amount still stays the same because that's the account balance, right? But let's say I said I bought something else and I charged it and I owe now another $1,000. Check this out. By me typing it in the credit side, it added it automatically. So now I owe $1,649.49. Okay, so there you go. That's how you do the formula. All right, and we're going to practice this when we dive into the sales and dive right into more liabilities, okay? So here I'm going to drag this formula all the way down, so that means every time I enter something in, it will fill it in for me, okay? And it will keep calculating it over and over and over again, okay? All right. So now that we've finished our ledger, we now have to deal with our vendor. So subsidiary ledger is next. And this time we're dealing with Restaurant Supplies. So we got to go scroll all the way down till you find Restaurant Supplies. So here is Restaurant Supplies. Okay. The date, once again, is June 6th. And the notes that you want to place here is what you want to place here. So I'm going to say I bought a cash register, right? I financed it. Financed. 12 months. Zero APR. Okay, and I can even put the account number here too. Account number. Account number 569812. 569812, right? I could place all that information just right there. Okay. Invoice number, it should be on the form. Let's see, do we have an invoice number? Sales receipt number 001487. 001487. Okay. Post reference, again, we did this transaction on our second journal. Due date, obviously we went in store and we bought it, so there is no due date. We didn't make an advance payment to them. And the full invoice amount is going to be $649.49, right? We're holding on to the receipt in case anything happens, because then we might be able to return it. Because we purchased it at time of sale, there is no discount. All right? And then lastly, did we pay for it?
No, it was on an account.
No, we didn't make any payment for it. So in this case, my formula here is same thing. It's going to be your invoice amount minus any prepaid, minus any returns, minus any discounts, minus any payments. And in this time, when I make that enter, it shows that I owe a total of $649. Okay, and that's how you use it. Okay, now of course, let's say I did make a payment on that day, right? And let's say I made a half payment, okay, or I made a payment of $300. Okay, if I just type in 300, then it changes the number automatically. But in this case, I didn't make any payment, right? I just made a zero payment. So therefore, it says that I still owe $649.49. Okay. And if you do make monthly payments, then I'll show you how this works later. Okay. So there you go. $649.49 in the accounts payable section. All right. Any questions? No? Alright, let's see if we're good on time. Okay, so right now, yeah, let's go ahead and let's do a couple more. Let's do one more, and then I'll call a break. Okay. So here we're still on general journal number 2, and now let's look at this scenario here. What happened here? We, on the 7th of June, we hired LV Remodeling Co. for remodeling the store area. So, do we need to journalize this transaction?
No.
No. All we did was hire them. We don't know if they completed the job. We don't know when it's scheduled to be completed. We just don't know. Okay? There's no estimated amount that we were given. All we did was hire them, and that's it. Okay? So then, what has happened next?
We got Kim Robinson's recommendation and bill for $1,000.
Okay, so, and then it is due in
3 days.
Due in 3 days. Invoice number 1542. So, if we received a bill, does that mean we have to pay them right away? We have 3 days. And did it say that we paid him?
No.
No. So it's going to be an accounts payable, right? We're owing them because that's the one thing that makes difference, right? If you're gonna pay it at time that they came up to you, then you're just gonna pay there's no reason for them to send you a bill, right? You just pay them right then and there. But in this case, we got a bill and it gave us specific directions saying that we owe them $1,000 and we're gonna owe it to them in 3 days. Okay, so in this case, let's journalize this. So we received Kim Robinson's bill. All right. So therefore, what is it going to be? So in this case, because I'm going to say interior designing, right? We got a consultation, right? And we're going to send it to LV Remodeling to go ahead and create the image, right? The interior design. So in this case, I'm going to name that this interior design, the consultation, is going to be considered a business expense. Okay? Right? It's an expense that had to occur, right, to do interior designing. All right? So let's go ahead and journalize this. So business expense. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and take a look. What number is business expense? What account number is business expense? 60200. Okay?
Yes.
60200. Good. And because we're owing Kim Robinson, it's going to be on an accounts payable. All right. Accounts payable account number. Yeah. Yep, you can look right above, right? And for how much am I owing to Kim Robinson?
$1,000.
$1,000. Okay. And then lastly, let's go ahead and fill in this description here because we have pretty much everything that we need. We have the vendor, obviously, Kim Robinson. All right. We have the invoice number, 1542, and we also have a due date. It's going to be considered net 3. All right. So when we understand terms, right? She didn't give us a discount or a term. She just gave us with a due date, which she says it's due in 3 days. So in this case, it's going to be considered net 3. The whole thing is due in 3 days. Okay? So now we finished off our entire journal. So now the next thing that we can do is enter the information in our ledger first and then deal with the subsidiary ledger last. So once again, business expense comes first. So that's going to be under expenses. Business expense is right here. Okay. And the date is once again June 7th. This one you could do interior design. Interior design consultation. Consultation, there you go. In post reference is going to be general journal number 2. And once again, is it debited for $1,000. So therefore, since it's our first entry here, it's going to reflect as $1,000. Okay. So last but not least, we have to update our accounts payable account, which is, again, our liabilities, right? We owe Kim Robinson. So here, you can go ahead and type in 67. You could fill in her information, but in this case, I have an invoice number, right? The invoice number is going to tell me everything I need to know. So invoice number 1542 is all I need to place here. All right. I can pull that invoice number. It's going to tell me I owe Kim Robinson. I owe them in 3 days, and I also owe $1,000. Okay. So that's all the information I need. Again, general journal number 2. And this time, because I owe the amount, I'm increasing my accounts payable by $1,000. So now again, I have $1649.49. All right. So I'm going to reformat this so it's all in dollar form or decimal form. Okay. Okay. All right. All right, last but not least, we need to go ahead and edit our subsidiary ledger because Miss Kim Robinson sent us a bill. So therefore, we need to fill that information in. Okay, so it's going to be, since she's an independent contractor, it's going to be based on last name. So Robinson, so it should be right under restaurant supplies. So here you go. She sent us the bill on June 7th. So the notes here is interior design consultation. Right? All right. Invoice number 1542. Post reference is going to be the general journal number 2. Due date. Okay. We were actually given a due date, so I think yours has 3 extra things. When was the due date? It is net 3, and then the next window after that's going to see the actual due date. So in this case, the actual due date here is in net 3, right? Net 3. So when is it actually due?
10th?
It is due on the 10th. So June 10 is the due date. So for your window, you should have an extra column in between. All right. You have the terms, and then you have the due date. Okay. So you can skip that part for now. And then again, the invoice amount was for $1,000. And for this case, it's that you didn't make any payment to it. So make sure you enter in invoice amount minus your prepaid, minus your returns, minus your discounts, minus any payments. So that means you should have an accounts payable for $1,000. Okay. All right. Good.
The total doesn't seem to be calculating well on that one.
It isn't? Oh. Yeah.
It's still 0.
It's still, yes. So this one, again, if for any reason that your formula isn't working, it's going to be equal sum. Okay? And you're just going to highlight the whole row of, the whole column of the accounts payable, and it should reflect. So in this case, this one didn't go through. Okay? So it could be something that, again, we have too many formulas on the worksheet, so this one might be one of those temporary ones that just doesn't recognize anything. Okay. All right. So now that we dealt with those 3 things, okay. Okay, so so right now it is 10:08. So I'm going to stop here and we're going to call break. Okay.